Welcome back to the Weekend with Anthony Opperman. Coming up next, our weekly chat with Chris Donovan, Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. Chris went fishing last week and supposedly racked up. We'll get his fish tales coming up shortly. Right now, I want to welcome in a guy who has a few fishing stories of his own. He's the CEO of the Round Rock Express at Corpus Christi Hooks minor league baseball teams, and is also the son of Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan. Happy to welcome into the weekend Reid Ryan and join us. And Reid, thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, Anthony, glad to do it, buddy.
Now, you used to have an outdoor show on TV, right? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, I did. I went to TCU and got a degree in radio, television, and film, and was a player and thought, I'm going to play for 20 years, and then I'm going to do, some sports broadcasting. And when all of a sudden my baseball career was over, I started doing kind of anything that could pay the bills, and I had a background in hunting and fishing, and so I did a pilot for Fox Sports. It ended up getting picked up, and I had a show here in the Southwest region called Hunting and Fishing Texas. It was on 5 years with me as the host, and then I moved over to Bassmasters on ESPN and did a couple years of that. So definitely got to get my feet wet in the broadcasting world with hunting and fishing, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, this will definitely be a perfect segue into our wildlife segment coming up. Hey, Reid, before we get into the World Series with the Rangers, I want to talk about what it was like for you growing up. Of course, your dad was one of the great pitchers of all time, yet he seemed very modest. I've heard stories about your family leaving the Astrodome in Houston in a regular, everyday old pickup truck. Was that true?
It was, yeah. We pretty much lived a normal life. I can tell you that I've always felt like I had the best of both worlds. My parents grew up in a small town about 30 minutes south of Houston called Alvin. Our town had about 25,000 people in it, and it's a town where my mom and dad went to high school and where their families were from, and so we had a very normal life. What was great for me as a kid was that I got to be in a small town, one high school town, knew everybody in the town, and during the school year had a very normal life. But then during the summer, my dad made it a point for my brother and sister and I to travel with him all over the country, to be a part of the big league experience, and really to grow up in the game of baseball. And so I tell everybody I kind of had the best childhood you could. I got to, be with a major league club from the time I got out of school till I started, and then during the, off season, I got to live in a small town where everybody knew my name and treated me like everybody else. So it was a great childhood, and I owe a lot to Alvin, Texas, and to the way my folks raised me.
Joined by Reid Ryan, CEO of the Round Rock Express and the Corpus Christi Hooks. And, Reid, you bring up that family environment and the family being around the game of baseball. And what's funny is it doesn't seem like that's changed much. Obviously, it seems like family is really important to you guys. I remember being in Round Rock, and you and your brother Reese, both executives with the team. But then you also had your mom there and your sister Wendy. They were both in the press box. They were talking with anybody and everyone that they met. I mean, would it be fair to say that baseball is definitely a true family business for you guys?
I mean, it is. Baseball's given our family everything we have, and so we hold the game and the people that work in the game very dear to our hearts. And the way that the Ryan family got into ownership of the Texas Rangers was really through my job and through what I did with owning a minor league team. Our family had been around the game. My dad had played. I had the opportunity to play after college and played a couple years, but then when I got out, I was working in TV and doing some stuff with the Texas Rangers and the Big 12 along with the fishing, and one day I just decided, I want to own my own team, and so I went out and talked to my dad and another partner of ours, Don Sanders, who had been an owner of the Astros, and at 26 years old, I went out and cut a deal to do a stadium referendum in Round Rock, Texas, and we got started in the late 1990s in the minor league baseball business. And I think over the next several years, my dad, having been retired, really got the bug for being in the front office of baseball. And we went from one club to buying another club. My brother ended up coming to work with me, so did my sister. And then eventually my dad wanted to move to Round Rock and be a part of it. And I think one thing led to another in that he eventually took a job with the Astros helping out Tim Purpura and Jerry Hunsaker, and was part of the 2005 World Series with the Astros, and that ended up leading to Tom Hicks hiring him as president of the Rangers, which ended up him putting together a group and buying the club. So we've really come full circle in this game of baseball, and like I said before, we hold it dear, and we have a lot of respect for the game.
You know, you say all that, Reid, and I can only help but think how much it would have meant to your family as well as your dad if the Rangers would have gotten that last strike on those two opportunities in game number 6. You know, I couldn't help but feel terrible for him seeing the expression on his face throughout Game 7 and the look of disappointment, just knowing how much has gone into this for all you guys.
Without a doubt, it's been extremely hard, and it sounds very cliche and very trivial when you say not winning the World Series has been very hard, but it's been a very depressing time because we've been in this game so long, and we know how hard it is to get there. And you look at my dad, who won a World Series in 1969 with the Mets in his 4th year of professional baseball, and he hasn't won one since. He's been back 3 times in an executive or ownership capacity. So it's extremely difficult to get there. The hard part about the game from an ownership standpoint or a management standpoint is that once the game starts, you're out of the mix. You're not in control. Before the game, you may think you have a sense of control. You can at least express your opinion, express your will, make changes with the roster of the club. But once the game starts, you got to let the players play the game. And getting that close in a season that starts in February in spring training, and all the days on the road, the 162 games, the 30 spring training games, it's the equivalent of running a marathon and literally stopping 1 inch from the finish line and just saying, I can't do it. And it's a terrible, terrible feeling, and it's one that I'm sure until the first pitch next year will be top of mind every day we wake up.
You know, you say that. I'm joined by Reid Ryan, CEO of Round Rock Express and Corpus Christi Hooks, also son of Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan. You say all that, and I know that that's definitely going to be a part of it, and it's going to be tough throughout the winter to kind of go back and replay some of those moments and what could have been. But I have to imagine as well, it's got to be incredibly rewarding for your family, your dad, everybody who's worked so hard with the Texas Rangers to change the culture of that club, that organization, and the fan base up there. You know, the Rangers have been an afterthought in North Texas for a while. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys have reigned supreme. The Mavericks had an incredible run of success. And, you know, the Rangers really were third for a while there. And to see that fan base turn around and support the Rangers like it has, embraced the Texas mentality, I got to imagine that that's got to be really rewarding for you guys.
Oh, it is, without a doubt. I mean, seeing the growth of the franchise and the popularity of the franchise, everything you said is true. We want to be winners. We want to be world champions, and we want to establish a consistency of winning and doing things the right way. And you know, you look at the model of the Atlanta Braves, and throughout the 90s, I think they were in the playoffs 8 or 9 times, and they only won one World Series. So you have to get a little bit lucky, and with the Phillies losing the last couple of years, you kind of have felt like this was our opportunity. But then again, if you build a franchise that's stable, that has a lot of good players, one of these years, you know, if you're in the position that you're in the field of 8 every year when the postseason begins, you've got a shot. And so as easy as it is to say, hey, we'll get them next year, we all know that it's really not that easy. But I do think the Rangers are going to get another chance. I don't see them not having an opportunity for postseason play the next couple years. And if you can just make it in and finish that grind of the regular season, you got a shot. And so the Ranger fans are excited about that.
Again, joined by Reid Ryan, CEO of the Round Rock Express and the Corpus Christi Hooks. And Reid, one more question for you, and then a favor before I let you go. Now, as you mentioned, you're a proud TCU alum. What are your thoughts of the Horned Frogs move to the Big 12 and really all of the volatility in college football right now? It seems like every day that you watch ESPN, there's something new.
Yeah, you know, I'm excited for the Frogs. I felt like we've earned the opportunity to be back in the Big 12 into a BCS conference. I was really excited about the Big East. I hated to see the demise of the Big East. I was excited when we were in the Mountain West. I felt like we had a conference that was as good as any in the country. But then with Utah and BYU leaving and some of the other things that have happened, it's fallen apart. But the bottom line is it's about TV dollars and having the schools with the notoriety in the alumni base. And so I feel like we're in there and that we're going to do good things. We earned our way back to this position. If you look at the last 4 or 5 years when Andy Dalton was there, we went on the road and beat Clemson. We went on the road and beat Virginia. We went on the road and beat Stanford. Obviously beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. We have gone and played people. We've scheduled up. Last 3 times we've played OU. We beat them twice. The last time we played SC, it's been a couple years ago, but we beat them. So the Frogs did it the right way. They raised money. They built a new stadium. They went on the road. They played anybody that would take a game with them. And so I feel like they've gotten that opportunity. Now the big question is going to be, can they sustain it, and can they become a team that's at the top of the Big 12? And just looking at the ACC and the SEC, there's a lot of good schools there. Look at Georgia, for example. Their coach has been on the hot seat, and now they're in a position that they may end up being in the championship game of the SEC because their division's a little weaker. So, it's college football is still outside of baseball, my favorite passion in sports, and it's a great game, and as much money and administrators and all the people that are involved with it, I still don't think they can mess it up. And as long as there's games on Saturday and there's people with rivalries and traditions and alumni bases, the sport will survive. And I just personally would love to see a playoff that everybody would have an opportunity, because it's a shame when you don't have an opportunity to win a championship. And if the rest of the world operated like college football did, you'd never have the movie Hoosiers, you'd never have the '69 Miracle Mets, you'd never have some of the great stories of sports and the Butlers of the world, and it's sad. And so hopefully one day they'll be able to get some kind of playoff system.
Good stuff, Reid. Certainly appreciate it. One last favor to ask you before we bring our conversation to a close. Every week I like to close the show with a little Texas music, trying to expand the culture a little bit here into Virginia. I know you're a Texas music guy. We had your boys Reckless Kelly up here for a concert earlier in the spring. Who should we close out the show with this week? What song should we go with?
Let's go with Pat Green. I like Texas because that's what the Rangers play every time they win.
That works for me. Reid Ryan, CEO of the Round Rock Express and Corpus Christi Hooks, also the son of Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan. Reid, thank you so much for taking the time again. And maybe when your schedule frees up a little bit, I know there's great fishing down in Texas, but my guy Chris Donovan said that there's equally good fishing here in Virginia, so maybe we can get you up here and go fishing sometime.
Hey, that'd be great, and I'd love to get over and see the squirrels and say hello to my friend Parney, and I'm so excited to see that baseball has survived in Richmond and that it's flourished, and you guys have a great community, and it's one that obviously we looked at a couple years ago, and it didn't work out for us, but I'm really happy for the baseball fans and everybody in Richmond. Y'all keep up the good work.
Reid, thank you so much again. Definitely appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Again, Reid Ryan, the CEO of the Round Rock Express at Corpus Christi Hooks. Guy who knows a little bit about fishing. We'll get to another guy who knows a little bit about fishing, Chris Donovan with the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, coming up, our weekly Wildlife Chat. That's next on The Weekend with Anthony Opperman.
The Weekend with Anthony Opperman continues next on Sports Radio 910.